British arrived in Sydney, boasting an unblemished tour record, which ET proceeded to change.
Ettinghausen! No, yes!
And on more than one occasion.
Here goes Chariots again, and look at the pace! Over comes Ettinghausen, can he stop him again? Yes, he does!
The best, though, was reserved for Big Mouth.
Meninga again, still travelling. Meninga gets it in. Gillespie, he won't have the pace, but he gets it. Jackson, Meninga started it. Meninga will finish it.
The Aussies were awesome. A 4-try romp proving there is plenty of kick in the 92 Kangaroos. Great Britain regrouped to coast home against New South Wales country before being punished by the Eels of Parramatta. Their victory over Newcastle this week was at a price, as skipper Ellery Hanley survived only 9 minutes. The pride of Mother England is on the line. The battle for the Ashes continues tonight at Princes Park, the second test.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Princes Park in Melbourne for this second test in the Battle of the Ashes between Australia and Great Britain. Tonight, as we welcome you to Melbourne, it is a date with destiny as far as the test future is concerned of Great Britain. For both countries, it is a date with rugby league history. The first time there has ever been a test match outside of New South Wales and Queensland in Australia. Atmosphere is certainly building. A sellout of around 32,000 expected down here in Melbourne. It's almost like I should be welcoming you to a rather chilly scene on the Kangaroo Tour of the north of England. It's only about 6 or 7 degrees here in Melbourne tonight. There is a strong breeze blowing. And the gentleman sitting alongside me tonight, of course, is well and truly used to that sort of experience, the former Australian Test captain, Wally Lewis. And Wally, a cold one here, and it's very much like a British scene. It should suit the Englishman.
It certainly should, Graham. I'm sure that the Pommies are going to feel very much at home out there tonight. Good evening, everybody. I'm sure that you're a lot more comfortable than we are out there. But, Graham, it really is going to be one of those test matches, I feel. The Pommies have to put up or shut up tonight. It's a game where they've really got to show what they've been made of over the last couple of years. Of course, they projected a lot of form before they came on this tour, and I'm sure that their fans at home and their close fans inside the team themselves really expected them to do a little bit better than they did in the first test.
Well, they have been struggling on the tour, but and they have had their injury problems. The Hanley controversy. He's finally now out of the tour. How do you see that one?
Well, I thought that was probably the best thing that really could have happened to the Englishman. They really wondered whether Hanley was going to be fit or not. As we said in that first test, we thought that he might be battling to be ready for the second test, and it turned out he wasn't available.
We see the Great Britain side here just warming up. There is something like 8,000 of their fans have travelled across for this test match and made their way down to Melbourne.
Certainly plenty of support from them. We can hear every one of those people here tonight at the stadium here. They're going to be made feel very welcome by every one of those people, and I'm sure that that's probably something that they need at the moment. They were fairly despondent after getting thrashed in that first test, and I'm sure that Malcolm really would have been working overtime trying to get them back on board for this particular match.
He has made some changes into this second test match. This is how the two great sides line up head-to-head.
The fullbacks both shone in Sydney. Andrew Ettinghausen pulling off 2 great try-saving tackles. Britain's Graham Steadman proving a revelation with his blistering speed. On the wings, Australia has 2 of the strongest and quickest in the business, Rod Wishart and Michael Hancock. But they'll have their hands full with British newcomer Paul Eastwood and the most expensive player in the game, Martin O'Fire. In the centres, Australia's captain Mal Meninga and his heir apparent Laurie Daly, while injuries have forced Paul Newlove off the wing to partner Daryl Powell in the British centres. Peter Jackson was given his chance at 5/8 in the first test and played superbly, while Gary Schofield must prove to be captain courageous tonight. Alan Langer, Australia's halfback, covered himself in glory in Sydney, while Sean Edwards fills the big shoes of Andy Gregory. Australian lock Bradley Clyde was voted man of the match in Sydney. Young Phil Clark will have to follow the Canberra Giant all over Princes Park tonight. The Australian second row is awesome. Bob Linder and Paul Sirenen both weigh in at over 105 kilos, while Billy McGinty makes his test debut alongside 15-match veteran Dennis Betts. In the front row, Paul Harrigan plays his first match in Melbourne, while David Gillespie gets his chance after a superb first test. For the tourist, Andy Platt moves back to his favourite position alongside Kelvin Skerritt. The hookers have both retained their spots after Sydney. Steve Walters will again be dangerous. Martin Dermott must get his forwards moving. The reserves benches are packed with class. Broncos duo Chris Johns and Kevin Walters are Australia's reserve backs. Lydon and Connolly will warm the British bench. In the forwards, Mackay and Lazarus. Wait in the wings for Australia, Hume and Harrison are Great Britain's forward reserves. The coaches are two of the greats of the game. For Australia, Bob Fulton. Great Britain has Malcolm Reilly.
Yes, well, only time will tell if Malcolm really has come up with the right balance going into this second test in the battle for the Ashes. Well, Pat Welsh, who would have ever thought that the Ashes itself would be on the line in a place called Melbourne?
Graham, you're exactly right, and I can tell you the Great Britain side is going to feel at home here tonight. Michael O'Connor, who'll be right on the sideline for the whole match, and it's going to be very cool.
Nice and Piccadilly, that's for sure, but it really is an English night here, just like back home in England. It could be at Central Park, couldn't you, Wigan?
Well, you've played over there, and how much of the supporters here tonight, how much will that help the Great Britain side in what's going to be a very difficult task for them?
It'll be a big boost, Paddy. There's something like 8,000 supporters out here for the game. They're very vocal and they're really wound up. They've got their backs against the wall, the Great Britain side, and they've got the hopes of the nation behind them and on their shoulders. And there's a lot of people back home wanting them to win, and they're really going to feel the pressure tonight.
Can they do it?
I think they can, but they've got to improve, obviously, in their first test. They've got to defend a lot stronger. They've got to move up better in defence. Got to play the ball quicker, and I think use a better kicking game. Forget the chip kicks, kick deep to the corners and put pressure on them.
Okay, a lot said about this surface. It's a bit the same as Olympic Park. It can be a little slippery, can't it?
It looks a little. I checked the surface just before, and it's a little bit slippery. Cricket pitch in the middle is not going to make it all that easy going for the forwards in the middle, but the conditions are good. The track is very fast, and you can expect some good over in rugby league.
Well, I can tell you all the Great Britain supporters here are revved up because the Great Britain side is out on the field right now, well before kick-off, to warm up, and that's an old ploy, obviously, that they use back home.
Well, no, actually they don't. They tend to sort of like to warm up back home in England in the dressing shed, so maybe it's a new tactic. It's something we actually do out here in Australia. But this side of the field, it's very dark. The lighting is not all that good, so you're going to have to watch out for Martin Fire.
A couple of changes to this team as well.
Yeah, that's right. I think probably good changes. The pack now is basically a Wigan pack, and they know each other's games fairly well. It is a lightweight pack, but a pack that, as I said, knows each other's games fairly well, and they're desperate, and a desperate side can do anything.
OK, Michael, we look forward to your comments from the sideline. As we said, conditions made to order for the Great Britain side here tonight, Graham. It should be a great match.
Yeah, we can't wait for the kickoff. Pat, stay with us. Live and exclusive tonight, the second test in the battle for the Ashes. We will be back in Melbourne right after this break. The scene is set here for the second test between Australia and Great Britain. The battle for the Ashes, they are well and truly on the line tonight with Australia's win in that first test at the Sydney Football Stadium. The referee, Mr. Dennis Hale from New Zealand, 5 test matches. He had to continue to keep the teams apart in Sydney to make sure that it didn't explode on him. That will be the same situation tonight. Underway, Great Britain trying to send us to a decider at Lang Park. Sirena, who seems to reserve his best against the Englishman. Clyde, right near the Australian 22. Working it away through the forwards. Lidner, still near the 22. Walters looking to switch the play. Gillespie. He took his chance in Sydney when Lazarus was forced off injured. Fulton has rewarded him with a start in the lineup tonight. 40 metres out from the line, they will go down to the last and look for a kick. Jackson was under pressure. Ettinghausen was under pressure. Off the side of the boot. Down for a fire. Little bit of a fumble. The Australians all onside now. He got away early in that first test. They will try and bottle him up tonight. Dermott looking for some workers amongst the forwards. Dennis Betts. Great defence. Betts was the player to stand out for Great Britain back in 1990 on the Kangaroo Tour. Wally, he was quiet in Sydney and has been quiet on tour.
Yeah, surprisingly, but I think a lot of that can be attributed to the Australians probably paying a little bit of extra attention to him. He was the player that really stood out for Wigan all the way through the year, and if you let a guy like that get a bit of a head start, I suppose you can put yourself in real danger. Ettinghausen with a chance to counteract from Australia. Surprisingly, we've seen 13 tackles now, Graham, without a penalty. A little bit different to the first test.
Wishart slipping. There will be a lot of that tonight. Plenty of rain in Melbourne throughout the week. Midfield and near the 22 again. Bradley Clyde. Now MMI man of the match in the first test. Walters across the ruck looking for Harrigan. Taken down low by Billy McGinty. Jackson. This time he will have the chance to put his own kick in. Down away from Steadman, who gets an awkward bounce, allowing time for the chasers. Langer nails him. Gets assistance from Daly. Englishmen were calling for the penalty. Phil Clark. A lot will depend on Great Britain's test future with this young man who fills the role of Ellery Hanley in that lock forward position. Dermott back for Skerritt. The Australians coming in 2s and 3s. Schofield. Schofield! Plenty of support. A fire should score if he can set him. He goes away. Wishart did well to stay with him. Great cover by Australia. Edwards. Edwards chips. Nobody's home. Langer gets back. Here comes Edwards. Langer sends it dead. Just like in Sydney, the early chance was with the Englishman.
Excellent play there. Once again, we've seen the Englishmen try and spread the ball wide as early as possible in the game. The first pass looked like it was in a bit of danger. It was juggled by the Englishmen down on their own 22-metre line, but once they got out in the open, we immediately thought we were in a bit of trouble. Of course, magnificent work there from Rod Wishart to get back and do the cover defending tackle. Once again, Andrew Ettinghausen found himself in a little bit of danger 2-on-1, but a lot more support this time round. Peter Jackson will probably be a little bit cross on himself there, Graham. He was the man that missed the tackle on Gary Schofield.
This time the ball bounces off the chest of Steadman. Play on. Flying tackle from Lindner. They went without points with those early chances in Sydney. They need to convert those opportunities. Skerritt. They might get a chance at goal. The penalty against Australia. Just outside the 22. Schofield to bring over Paul Eastwood. Well, this was the Australians well and truly inside the 5. Dennis Hale had played the advantage for as long as he thought possible. And Eastwood, from the whole club in England, he's about 20 metres in from the sideline, so he's fairly adjacent.
Interesting to note there, Graham, in that 2 tackles from the English team. They seem to look a hell of a lot more confident than they did in the previous 2 sets of 6 that they had down on their own line. Marvellous what one break can do for a team's confidence, and I suppose it really was necessary after the result in that first game. Maybe we're about to see the Great Britain team come out with the style that they did in that first match. We hope so, because it's certainly going to promise for a great game.
Eastwood was the man who had a chance in that fabulous second test back in 1990 at Old Trafford in Manchester to wrap up an Ashes series win. And it was an easy attempt, something just like this. It went astray, and history stayed on the side of Australia. The red, white and blue looking for the right start. The right start and some confidence. Eastwood takes plenty of time. He gets it. Great Britain draw first blood. It is 2-0. Just bringing it away from their own 22. Some strong running from Platt. This all Wigan pack. Big advantage to the Englishman. McGinty. Now Harrigan came in with a big hit. Harrigan struggling to get back to his feet. Steadman switches play to create some room for himself, and the kick, and a good kick too, getting it away from Ettinghausen and Hancock.
10 Englishmen in the chasing team down there, Graham. They really are switched on at the moment, the Englishmen. They're out, they mean business at the moment. They've got a sniff of success early in the game. There's a long way to go, but once they've got this opportunity, they're not about to let it go, just like that.
7 minutes gone. Gillespie, a little stutter. but plenty of the defence around him. Jackson down a short blindside. It was on for just a moment. He had support outside. Clyde shows the ball. The defence don't fall for it. Langer. Steadman back to the in goal. Daly's down there. Meninga's there. He beats Meninga. Good stepping from Steadman. Man from Castleford, fumble from Schofield. Missed by Dennis Hale, the referee.
Well, it was only a little knock on it, only went half a metre forward, I think.
He claimed that it came off the boot of Schofield. Amazing miss as Schofield looks away. No doubt about it. They will be looking for the kick shortly. Dermott. Penalty against the Australians for holding some support play that was trying to loom up for Martin Dermott. Dermott just out of shot. There was a shoulder charge on one of the Englishmen.
It's going back to that knock on. If Gary Schofield didn't knock that on, if it came off his boot, he's certainly going to end up with a big headache walking down the road tomorrow morning, Graham, that's for sure.
Edwards, short ball up for Scarrett. They go into the Australian territory. They have the penalties 2-0. Platt, Fuller running Platt, another one. And Dennis Hale says to the Australians, you stay behind me. Eastwood will come over for another shot. Now they're having a midfield conference. Steadman wanted to kick for the sideline, then 2 and 3 players rushed in to point to the goalposts.
Maybe they're a little bit more confident than we've given them credit for. Common sense, I think, being the common denominator in the end there, Graham. 32 metres out from the line and around 10 minutes into the game, I think it would be ridiculous to go for anything else except the 2 points.
Michael O'Connor, this is shaping up very much like the match in Sydney where they gained all the early opportunities.
It is, Graham. They're getting plenty of opportunities, though, the Englishmen. I'm very surprised at the handling. It's good. The ball's slippery and the conditions are atrocious down here. There's a lot of wind and, I mean, they're really playing quite well, Great Britain, but that was a bad miss by the referee down there. Australia had the opportunity for 6 tackles in the Great Britain quarter, and they're right off the hook and they're shooting for goal for 2 points.
Just the sort of decisions that can turn a test match, one way or the other. 100% so far for Eastwood. This time he's 32 metres out and he is in front. He is kicking into the breeze. The rain still tumbling down here. Eastwood to give them a real good start. He does just that. He's got the boot on line as the English fans celebrate. 11 minutes gone. Optus replay shows you that Eastwood wasn't real happy about that at all. Newlove steps. Got away from the first line of defence. Darryl Powell, I should say, who has swapped around with those jumpers. Platt goes without it for Clark to show it. Edwards. Getting it away for Skerritt. Plenty of early possession for the Englishman. Dermott. Ducked under one. Sits it up nicely for Betts as they start to support each other around the ruck. Langer chasing down on Steadman. He looks for the angle to the sideline, kicks it low into the breeze. Ettinghausen will take on a fire. He won't get away. Lindner running from dummy half and running well too. Meninga looking for workers amongst the forwards. Gillespie gives it straight back. Here's an opportunity. Big backline set up to the right if they go to it early. They do. Edwards Thought he sighted a gap, he slipped. Harrigan looks to have recovered. Dermott still stays with Schofield and the back line. Clark on a run around. Fumbles, then loses it. That ball is getting slipperier still. Langer goes wide to Jackson. Good defence from Edwards. Meninga from dummy half. The Australians have missed 5 tackles so far. Jackson amongst the forwards. Great tackle. Super tackle from McGinney. That really hurt. Great charge. He rocked Jackson. Right on halfway. Just one more tackle. Jackson kicking across the field away from Steadman. Sending Eastwood rushing back. He steps inside Langer.
A good kick from Peter Jackson there, Graham. He kicked at the open spaces. Some people may have thought that he put his team in a little bit of pressure there, but he really bought some time for his chasers. They managed to get down there. Now we see Great Britain only 12, 14 metres out from their own line, and already 3 tackles gone.
Andy Platt showing the way home for the Englishman amongst the forwards. Quick hands, Schofield. Meninga. Great tackle from him as they tried to, again, work to a fire's wing. Now he goes from dummy half, and he gets hammered over the top by Harrigan. Last tackle, they're still in their 22. Awkward pass back for Steadman. He only kicks to halfway. Ettinghausen slips as he went to take it. Favourable bounce for the Englishman. And they finish in about 35 out from his own line. They've got plenty of confidence, Pat.
They had. That last set of 6 wasn't good for them, and they got a little break with the kick bouncing past Ettinghausen, but they're really fired up and playing very, very well at this stage. There's a good run by Hancock, injecting himself into the forwards across field. They're still inside their own half, the Aussies, though. And they're having a lot of trouble getting out of their own half wall.
Yes, they certainly are. Just that ruck from Michael Hancock there, sometimes that can tend to indicate that there is a little bit of worry in a team when the wingers are forced to come in. Alan Langer's kick, just a little bit too much weight in there. Going back to Michael Hancock, sometimes that can indicate that the forwards aren't really in a position to do their jobs. But of course, when you've got a player like Mickey Hancock, who is such a devastating runner, it really does come in handy to give your forwards a break every now and then and get him in there to grab some valuable territory.
Just as an indication of that, Australia have only been in for 2 sets of 6 in the opposition half. Great Britain 7. So they really had the better of this match territorially. Jackson up high on the debutant Billy McGinty, who's had a strong game tonight. Dermott looking to the blind side. He finds Betts. Nowhere to go for Betts. Meninga in there with strong defence. Up the centre goes Andy Platt, playing in his favourite prop position tonight. And there's punches being thrown here now. Harrigan's involved. So too is Skerritt. Platt is in there and well as well. Well, it's taken a while to boil over. We thought it would happen.
Paul Harrigan, I think, will be one of the blokes we'll find on the replay that was the guy that was involved there.
Look at Schofield.
It was Gary Schofield. I'd have the car in reverse out of there. He's a little bit too big for that bloke. Yeah, it was a case of Paul Harrigan, I think, just grabbing a guy who was jogging through, taking him out of play a little bit too early, and quite foolishly, I thought the smaller of the two decided to have a go at Harrigan. Geez, he's enormous, that bloke. 2 different weight divisions going on here.
Martin Dermott also called out for a warning, and the penalty, as expected, will go to Great Britain. Let's have a look at it on the Optus replay. It's Harrigan interfering with Dermott, and that's how it started. Great shots from our head on camera showing all the action, and there was plenty of punches thrown in that exchange, as you can see. Okay, the penalty has taken Great Britain right down to Australia's quarter line. Great chance to attack. Skerritt on the charge. Only about 15 metres out. Here comes Platt. It's been raked away from him, and Australia will get the ball.
Very well done from Steve. Yes, it was knocked on, but very good work from Stevie Walters to rake that ball back. Unfortunately, the Australian defence turned attack, weren't quite able to get on the ball and seal the advantage for Australia. Peter Jackson.
So the Australians the Great Britain side get a chance to attack again, and Schofield's legs are cut from under him by Meninga. They'll work the open side again. Clark dummies, he's through, he will score! He will score, and it was so easy. It was so easy for Phil Clark. One of the Wiggins set of 6. The 21-year-old, as Graham said, the future of Great Britain Rugby League, and he has sent the 8,000 fans here at Princes Park that have travelled all the way from Mother England into an absolute frenzy.
We've seen some pretty displayed running from Great Britain here, Pat, and the gaps that are going across there, of course, on the Optus replay happened because the Great Britain players were running angles. We saw the ruck prior to this half open up the gap. Mel Meninga managed to close it up there, but there it is there with Phil Clark running across. A couple of would-be Australian defenders just caught in a little bit of despair there. Paul Harrigan, one of them. A great opportunity opened up for the English.
Two of the biggest men in the Australian side. It was Jackson, it was Sirinen and Paul Harrigan, and it's happened in the 18th minute. So the scoreline here now is 8 points to 0 in favour of Great Britain. And who would have read it this way?
This is exactly what didn't happen in Sydney. When they had some chances, they didn't make them into points. The Ashes are on the line. These guys have got to believe in themselves, and it is the real test for the Australians now. They are labelled a great side. They've got to lift.
Well, we're only halfway through the first half, so there's plenty of time for Mel Meninga's Aussies. But Eastwood has the chance, and it's not all that difficult, only about 12 metres to the right-hand side of the uprights to give them a 10-0 lead. And you've got to remember that Great Britain will have a strong breeze at their backs in the second half. Here he goes. It looks good. Up go the flags. It's 10-0 at Princes Park. Great Britain lead Australia in the second Rugby League Test.
Stevie Walters once again the man who will get the ball back from Australia in the rake situation.
And Great Britain go turnabout and take it straight back to them.
Yes, well, Paul Harrigan, the man to turn over possession there. That's twice in a row now, Pat, where the Australians have managed to gain some sort of an advantage through Steve Walters raking the ball back in the ruck, but not holding the ball for one tackle. I'm sure Bob Fulton will have his trainers working overtime in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, just trying to make sure they follow a few instructions. And that instruction, I should imagine, would be make sure we control the ball and get some territory advantage.
Well, Michael O'Connor, you said that we'd expect mistakes, and now they're starting to come into this game.
The ball must be like a piece of soap out there. It really is very slippery, and I'm surprised that the handling has been as good up until now as it has.
Harrigan, about 28 metres out from the Great Britain line. This is the most promising attack that Australia has mounted in this match. Sirinen, and plenty of attention for him. In there was Eastwood. So too Clark, the try scorer. Langer, let's see if he can set this back line alight. Meninga to Daly. Daly's got a little space here. He's on a fire into Wishart, but O'Fire shepherded him well towards the touchline, and now he's been dragged over the touchline. So the scrum will pack down about 25 metres out from the Great Britain line, and Wally, they are playing inspired football at the moment.
Yes, they are, and they're defending very well. They had a slide defence going on that occasion. Here we see a little bit of a difference between the refereeing standards, Pat. I think in Sydney Rugby League football, we may have seen the referee call hell there. I may be wrong, but the Australians, well, that's 3 opportunities they've had in the last 2 or 3 minutes down this area in the field, and each one has been wasted.
Great Britain will work it on a big open side here. That's out to Paul Newlove. He gets it about 25 metres out from his own line. Darryl Powell. Dermott had Platt with him. He was interfered with and resented it just off camera. There's no love lost between these two sides. And I can tell you the Australians are shell-shocked at the moment, trailing 10-0 here at Princes Park. A capacity house, sitting out in the rain, many of them. But if you're an English fan, well, they're absolutely loving it. That one skids down towards Andrew Ettinghausen. Plenty of Great Britain chasers there. Powell was first to him, and Phil Clark just behind. Clark will chase Hancock and nail him. It was Lindner, I should say. They decide to spin it, Meninga. But they were awake up to that move. Held down in the tackle.
First penalty to the Australians there, Pat, and I'm sure that the players out the middle there would feel a little bit relieved. With previous tackles leading up to that penalty, they really didn't seem to be gaining any advantage.
Well, that is the first Australian penalty, so maybe they can set themselves, get a little bit of a roll on here. Harrigan takes it to them. 32 out. Australia looking for the reply. A reply that is badly needed. Gillespie just heading it towards midfield for the switch. Clyde. Clyde still struggling with the defence. Ettinghausen stays up in the line at dummy half. Langer. Harrigan. Taken by Skerritt. Also Edwards. Langer with the back line this time. Jackson. Lindner outside. Ball comes astray. Great Britain have it. Lindner taking his time getting off Eastwood as Steadman brings it away. Jackson was trying to pop up the short ball. Schofield got a hand in there right on cue. Great Britain will not mind if that rain continues throughout the game. Andy Platt. What a first half he's having. Edwards switches. Out to Eastwood, nowhere for him to go. Last tackle. Edwards goes deep to Steadman. Great kick from the fullback. He was under pressure. Hancock came in to try and charge the ball down. The English fans thinking that the hit was a little late. There was nothing to it. Langer with the feed. 15 minutes remaining. They just have not been able to get into gear. This is an incredible head start in the conditions, Mick, for the Englishmen.
Certainly is. They're playing as per program, I think. Malcolm Riley's obviously done a lot of time on working on their kicking game. And there's another penalty to Australia. But they're playing a very structured game. I'm very impressed with the Great Britain side so far.
Mick, it certainly seems to be a different Great Britain defensive line in this game. Just looking through that first match, they tended to be a defensive line that just move up or possibly an up and in smother defence.
Yeah.
Tonight it appears to be a slide defence, which a lot of teams are tending to adopt these days.
That's right, Wally. You picked it. They are sliding. There's a lot of talk out there as well in defence, I can hear from the sideline.
Not too much sliding right there, though.
That's right. I think these conditions help little men too. And that Australian pack is enormous. And the Great Britain side, a lot smaller, lower centre of gravity, and they're holding their feet very well.
Harrigan pops it up right in the midfield for Walters. But they keep on coming in numbers in defensing, but Jackson stepping his way through. The ball was there for Langer, but it was an awkward pass. There was a gap for him to continue on. Steadman. He grabs Alan Langer in a headlock. Betts. There is no doubt to my way of thinking that the Wigan pack is working very much in favour of Great Britain.
That's right, and working as a unit, I believe, Graham. They certainly seem to have a lot of motive behind them. There's certainly no lack of that, but they really look like they're working to a team plan. Perhaps they've just adopted the Wigan team pattern that they had whilst they were playing in the English competition. Whatever it is, it's working very well for them. And, well, a kicking charge brought against the Great Britain team there.
Against Billy McGuinney for kicking out in the tackle, so a couple of things turning Australia's way. McGuinney has been one of the impressive players on the Optus replay here. Lashes out with the boot and catches the shoulder of Daly, no doubt about it.
I'm sure Malcolm really would be very upset about that, Graham, with only around about 8 minutes to go in this first half. They could have had Australia well back in their own 22-metre. Now, through the efforts of that penalty, we see Australia on the line, perhaps attacking, trying to get that 10-point deficit shortened.
Penalty starting to square up. Harrigan now, back up the middle. They haven't had any answers for the defence at the moment. Serenin, awful ball for Langer, they lose it. That ball was thrown around the knees of Langer by Serenin. So Langer in the last couple of moments has had some awkward ones to contend with. Optus replay down below his hip and a greasy ball to boot. Edwards to Schofield. Stepping inside Jackson. 32 test tries to his credit. Schofield, 27 times he's represented his country. Great player. Clark still full of running in this first 40. Eastwood now from dummy half. Every inch is important for them to get away from the 22. Handling errors going against Australia. Skerritt standing wide. Langer climbed aboard high. Still gets it away as they keep it alive for Platt. Can they just keep this going till half-time and then again in the second 40? Platt shows that when it comes to being in front rower, he is not all that good in the kicking display. Well and truly off the side of the boot. Hancock now to the midfield. Hancock with a gap. It closed just on time by Schofield and also Dermott. Real mess in the play. The ball should have been an Australian penalty.
The ball was still in the middle of the ruck. The rule states that you cannot pick the ball up or touch it whilst it is in the area of the ruck, and that's certainly where that ball was at that stage.
Schofield was not directly in front of the man as well. Steadman on halfway. Hancock gets some running repairs from the Australian trainer. Betts takes it up. A fire is in the middle of the field looking to create an opportunity. Dermott from dummy half. Good ball up the middle. Edwards, he kicks. A fire's coming. A fire. They still get it. Another Great Britain try. McGinty claims it. Australia, it might be early days, but they're on the rack. Princess Park erupts for Great Britain for the second time tonight. Optus replay. Great skills from Edwards. It has been Wigan. Wigan leading the way for Great Britain. The chip over the top. A fire was leading the race. He cops a check. The ball is claimed, in fact, by Newlove.
Looking at that replay, it's a touch-and-go decision whether the ball actually was forced down with the hand, but very ordinary defence up the middle of the ruck by the Australians there. It was a race to see who was going to get to the ball first. We won't see much from this angle, unfortunately, but from the other one it did appear as if it was a toss of the coin affair, but you really can't argue. He will see it in slow motion.
No doubt about it, to me, a try to Great Britain.
Yes, he did get his fingernail. That's about all.
What a night for Great Britain. They have exploded here in the first 40. The Aussies, well and truly stunned.
Well, Graham, Billy McGinty jumped up and was claiming the try, and why wouldn't he? It's his test debut. His side, the underdogs tonight, are leading 14-0, but unfortunately history won't show that his name will go down as a try scorer just yet.
Australia were odds-on going in the betting here. You really could not get aboard Great Britain. Who would have thought it? There will be some punters around this country in a state of shock at the break. They are in big voice, the English supporters here. And smiles all round.
And I say again, Graham, that they're going to have the advantage of this very hefty breeze in the second half.
Eastwood takes time out. Nice and casual at the end of this run. Another valuable 2 on offer. A lasting gaze at the posts. Eastwood to drive another nail. What a start. What a first half for Great Britain. No joy for Australia, 16-0.
Whenever
7 minutes remaining.
The Melbourne crowd here in a stunned silence at the moment, Graham. It certainly hasn't been a happy hunting ground for the Australians. Of course,
it was last year at Olympic Park when New Zealand grabbed the first test 24-8.
Well, Mal Meninga made that point during the week. He also lost the State of Origin match here. So Melbourne is becoming a real hoodoo area for Mal Meninga.
Steadman, look how confident this side is now. The ball bounces down for Wishart. Plenty of defenders down there.
Ettinghausen nearly took his eyes off it. Now he loses it. Scrum will go down. Great Britain right in front of the posts with an opportunity either side. This is the trademark Optus replay. We've got some bustled players out there.
Yes, we have. Schofield's. Yes, it was a knock-on from ET there. Some pressure starting to build up with the Australians now, and I'm sure that the Great Britain team, with only a few minutes remaining this first half, aren't about to let up.
9 metres out, Great Britain. They throw themselves at the line. Skerritt. The Lions looking for one of the biggest upsets in rugby league history. Platt, switch, Edwards. Schofield kicks to the end goal. It gets away, another one. Andrew Ettinghausen went ice skating. Schofield chip gets a try. Unbelievable, totally. The world champs are in big trouble. The switch of play on the Optus replay. Schofield, what a great player he has been. Ettinghausen lost his footing, unfortunately. A flying try to the English captain.
Yes, it was a flying try, and it's a flying scoreboard at the moment. The man just can't keep up with the rush up there. That's 2 tries in 5 minutes to the Poms, and Australia, well, they really don't know what's going on. The Great Britain attack, they really does seem to be aiming at 2 players in particular there, Graham, and it is quite often on the blind side. Bobby Lindner's efforts to try and get back to stop that try, just not good enough. 20 going on 22 points to 0. This is unbelievable. A lot of the Australian players will be wishing the nightmare would finish, and finish very quickly.
Let's start pinching ourselves. Under 5 minutes, Schofield grabs his 33rd Test try.
Well, it
break out the champagne, not just yet, he might be saying to his teammates.
It certainly is an unbelievable performance. We've just seen the English goal kicker, Paul Eastwood, line up for the goal. He set the sand up and just forgot to bring the ball, so he had to walk over 30 metres to where he'd left it.
And we've got to remember, Graham, that their skipper, Gary Schofield, and the try scorer there didn't train with the side yesterday, had a minor hamstring problem, and of course there was a rumour as we arrived at the ground that he wasn't going to play. Well, he's had a blinder tonight. The Aussies know he's on the field, and how often has a Great Britain side led 22-0, which they're about to, and Martin Hofire hasn't scored a point.
Yeah, they are rocking and rolling, young and old, English fans here. No one can believe it, except maybe Mal Reilly and his team, who have put on a stunning first 40. Eastwood. It is even worse. It is even worse as Great Britain grab it 22-0. Subaru scoreboard shows a shutout so far in the first 40. Meninga with the restart. Betts taken 12 metres out from his own line. Platt, a hero in the first half. Skerritt trying to set it up. Still running and struggling with the defenders. Clark, non-stop worker. Well, Mick, are you just as stunned as everybody?
I am, Graham, but Gary Schofield, he's having a great game, as you mentioned. He should really go out and buy a lottery ticket tonight or tomorrow. You know, he's had a knock-on. He got away with that play in the play the ball area, which resulted in a penalty to... a try to Great Britain rather than a penalty to Australia. And he scored a try off a kick and chase. He's really having a rare night.
Mick, there looked to be a little breakdown in communications there between Ettinghausen and Hancock, even with that ball there. You get that feeling that they really are not just frustrated, but as I said to Wally, totally bustled at the moment. Yeah,
they're stunned at the moment. I can hear the talk on the field, and there's nothing coming from Australia. And ET, I mean, he made a blue in dropping that ball, which led to the scrum for that try, and then he sort of compounded it with the try.
Daly tried to get something started there. Now Jackson likewise. They really do need to get on the board before half-time. Something to give them the chance at it. Walters.
The ball should go high here. I think if I was the Australians, I'd put it up.
Right on cue. Down it comes Steadman. Plenty of courage. They're used to these sort of takes at Princess Park. They should put him in a Carlton jumper. Optus replay. Great flying take. 12 metres out again, Skerritt. He's been a handful, as has Platt. Last 60 seconds. They go to the last tackle too. They will have to get it away from the danger zone. Steadman will do that easily. The green and gold will have a dying shot at it before half-time. Ettinghausen, open field. Kicking ahead. Hancock's coming. He misses it. Ball beats nearly everybody.
Gee, that was very close from Mickey Hancock. He had the accelerator down, flat chat there. Well, decision by the referee as well. I thought he may have even decided that, as we see Ettinghausen here on a magnificent run, probably the only time that the English chasing team wasn't at its best.
Does the bounce of the ball tell you whose night it is tonight?
Yes, it certainly does. Hancock, as we mentioned, though, did very, very well. A little bit of slip in there. He actually didn't even get the fingers to the ball.
Hancock was wishing and hoping for a second chance at it. Ettinghausen thrown to ground. Time is nearly up. Lidner. It might be bombs away right at the death before the break. Langer has Harrigan outside. Dummies to him. Goes to Meninga. Meninga runs out of territory, and Australia with that will run out of time in this first 40.
Big fella just running out of space there. I think Mel just realised just at the last moment that he really could get around there, but of course the slippery conditions not doing much for him, and I suppose when you get his weight on a bit of a slide, there's not much chance of pulling it up in the slippery conditions.
Well, the biggest winning margin by Great Britain in a test match is 23 points. That was in the third test at the SCG, the Sydney Cricket Ground, back in 1958. Steadman now under pressure. Australia drive in. A fire. Well, time we thought was about due.
Great stuff, Alan Langer there. 4 tackles in a row.
Skerritt, 10 metres out, last tackle. Can they put pressure on the kick? Edwards is back. Steadman is back to support. Edwards plants it. Now that will soak up time. That's not bad thinking. I think Great Britain feel that time is about due too. We've still got seconds. Clyde inside the 22. Now it is finally up. So Great Britain hang on when Australia were looking to get amongst some points. Great reception here from the English fans for their heroes like Schofield. It has been all Great Britain. One of the biggest upsets online.
Well, we're halfway towards one of the biggest upsets. Of course, the point that Bob Fulton will be stressing to his team at half-time is if the opposition can lodge that many points in one half, then the Australians, as the home team, can certainly do the same. But I'm sure it's going to be a shell-shock bunch of players that enter that dressing room door. They'll be wondering just what the hell is going on.
This country has been stunned by this first 40 minutes. Great Britain, they are back in business in the battle for the Ashes. Subaru scoreboard, 22-0. Well,
Well, it is a stunned Princes Park, and Wally Lewis, it is a stunned Australian dressing room. Fulton laying down the law.
Yes, it would be. Bob's probably trying to work out at the moment exactly what he's going to say to the players. He no doubt have 5 or 6 major points that he'd be trying to get through to the players, but when you're looking at a scoreline such as we've got at the moment, it really would be hard to come out and decide exactly what would be your major point that you try and get across to the players. And obviously they're having a little bit of trouble around about the rucks. The English in the first test seemed to be quite intent on just taking the ruck straight up the middle. Today they look to be aiming at around about the edge of the ruck, just inside or just outside Alan Langer.
Well, as far as the Great Britain side is concerned, it was the 18th minute mark when Australia were rocked for the first time. Grabbing the opening try was Phil Clark.
So the Australians the Great Britain side got a chance to attack again, and Schofield's legs are cut from under him by Meninga. They'll work the open side again. Clark dummies, he's through, he will score! He will score, and it was so easy!
Wally, this is a good young talent.
He certainly is. He's really displayed a lot of maturity for a guy that hasn't had all that much experience in the big time. Running across the field, though, that really was what opened the Australians up early in that first spell. So I guess when you have a look at the way that they managed to split Australia, it wasn't any surprise to see them continue to try that same sort of form.
Well, Great Britain was starting to grow in confidence and showed some great skills in the second try that led to Newlove grabbing a 4-pointer. Dermott from dummy half. Good ball up the middle, Edwards! He kicks! A fire's coming! A fire! They still get it! Another Great Britain try! Everybody was wanting to jump in the queue here to grab the try.
Yeah, again up the middle of the ruck, Paul Sirenin, the big fellow, is probably the worst guy possible in big conditions. Has a lot of trouble holding his feet here, but you can just see the keenness that the Great Britain guys were displaying, trying to get down to that football there. The Aussies had a couple to get back there as well, but once again we saw that kick. Once the Great Britain players got out in the open, they put the ball out, probably trying to cash in on Martin Afai's speed there, and it certainly did work. It's worked before for them, and really has paid dividends for them tonight.
Well, they have had the possession, Great Britain. 91 tackles to Australia's 56, but they have done plenty with it.
They really have. They haven't wasted the opportunities that they've had when they've been down the end of the field where it's been of most value for them. They really have put the moves on that have upset the Australian defence. And I think that's one of the key points in that first half. They haven't just taken simple rucks up the middle of the paddock. They've decided to run sideways, bring angled runners inside and out, and really it has been a handful for the Australians to defend against.
Well, Great Britain entered the field tonight to the strains of Land of Hope and Glory. There is always plenty of hope when there's a guy around by the name of Gary Schofield. The Lions looking for one of the biggest upsets in rugby league history. Platt, switch, Edwards. Schofield kicks to the end goal. It gets away, another one. Well, Michael O'Connor was making the point about the slippery conditions and the big men not handling it for Australia, and this was the case at the back for Ettinghausen.
Yes, but I think to be fair to ET, it really was hard for him to keep his footing there. He had to virtually do a complete 180 to get back to the football, but it didn't look as though there was any danger. I think the worst trouble Australia appeared to be in is that Ettinghausen was going to fall on the ball and we'd have to return the football to New Zealand courtesy of a drop kick, but really it didn't turn out that way. It was disaster for the green and gold.
Well, who's got to do it now for Australia? Who's got to grab this test match and say, yeah, we can score 20-odd points to get back?
Well, we've seen the Australian big men struggle in the middle of the ruck, in particular Ciro and Harrigan. They've been the guys that have been having the most trouble with their feet, and it's come courtesy of guys running on angles and putting in a bit of a sidestep. Now, the Australians have one of the best sidestep men in the business out there, the number 7, Alan Langer. He's a guy that really can tear defensive lines apart. He's the guy that's got to involve himself a lot more in the second half and aim his runs a little bit better. Aim at the big guys and step around them.
All right. Well, can Australia get back, or are the Ashes going to be gone tonight? Great Britain, a monstrous head start here, 22-0 at half-time. We will return to Princes Park right after this. Welcome back to Princes Park, the Australians first out. Meninga looking pretty grim. In the first half, 110 tackles the Australians were forced to make. They missed 9. Handling errors went against them. Great Britain had the scrums and the penalties. Well,
They have 40 minutes ahead of them to make sure that the Ashes are alive at Lang Park next Friday night. They believe they can do it. Great reception for the Englishman. They are running out about 10 feet tall.
And Bob Fulton has made some replacements. I can see Kevin Walters out there.
Well, Sirinen led the way for Australia. Just behind was Harrigan, McGinty and Clark, and Skerritt amongst the forwards for Great Britain. Well, do they have 23 points in them, Australia?
Well, it's certainly a very tall order to expect a team to score more than 22 points to catch up in a test match especially, but, well, the Australians, I suppose they would have received their orders at half-time, what they've got to come out and do in the second half. And one of those would be, of course, just to try and get some form of team play back in their ball work once they take over after getting possession for the first time. But they're going to be a little bit longer getting that possession. A high tackle from Paul Sirinen, earning Great Britain a penalty, which we'll see, of course. The play ended up on halfway. 6 tackles later, it'll be on Australia's try line.
Well, they have the breeze at their backs. Mick O'Connor, a couple of changes.
Yeah, that's right, Graham. Chris Johns comes on the wing for Rod Wishart. Peter Jackson's off. Kevy Walters is on. A couple of big changes.
So some vital ones. What are your thoughts about this turnaround?
Can Australia do it? I doubt it. I think that the conditions the way they are, it's going to be too hard. It's too slippery. Great Britain will just close up shop, I think. They've been tackling very effectively, and I think it's a real tall order to make up 23 points in the second half against the wind in slippery conditions.
Well, Michael, certainly in defence at the moment, Laurie Daly is playing at fullback. Eddinghausen has gone to wing, and Johns has gone into the centres.
Yeah, we saw that happen in the State of Origin, and Laurie Daly nearly turned the game for New South Wales. He's a great stepper, and he's one player that can hold his feet. But we've really only seen one clear break by the Australians, and that was Andrew Eddinghausen when he went around Powell in about the 35th minute of the game. Apart from that, they haven't looked like scoring.
40 metres out from the Australian line. Harrigan makes another tackle. High ball. Eddinghausen takes it beautifully.
That's a marvellous catch from E.T. there, especially being under a little bit of pressure there with the wind swirling the football around and catching the ball back over his shoulder. We'll just see how Australia settle into this first adventure with the ball in the second half. They look to be running a little bit more one out than they started the game with, but I'm sure that's only because they want to just take things nice and easy. Don't go throwing the ball around too much and try and settle into their play.
Kevin Walters. What a task ahead for him. Gillespie. Last tackle. Platt tries to get down there. Edwards nearly did. Back to Steadman, who has been more than solid at the back. He returns the favour. Down deep. Daly fumbles. Everyone's onside. He returns. But it's only near halfway. Dermott fumbles. Quickly back to Steadman. Kicking into the breeze. Now Daly is stretching at the back with a hamstring. After he put the kick in, and he's still grabbing at the back of his left leg. Edwards. Clark. It was the dummy that got him through for the first try. Betts down the short line, ducking under some tackles. Dermott looks to the backs, goes to Edwards. Schofield kicking, holding the ball up. Daly takes it on the full.
Already no secret in Great Britain's plans for this second half, Graham. They intend to play the game as far down in Australia's territory as possible. Good thinking there as well. Obviously, if Australia are going to have to grab a try, it's going to be a very, very long one, attacking from deep inside their own half. And those tries don't come cheaply in test matches, especially when you're 22 points in arrears.
Clyde. No one has been able to get clear for Australia, except Walters nearly then. Now to brother Kevin. Trying to run around Steadman. Here comes the green and gold. 22 out. Langer. Nice quick play of the ball. Back for Meninga. Meninga over the top. Australia lose it, then Great Britain lose it. They should have the feed, the Englishmen.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too high for Bobby Lindner on that occasion. Maybe a little bit of panic there for the Australians. Only 2 tackles into their set of 6. Perhaps they should have decided to just play a little bit safe, but I suppose when you're 22 points down, it's very hard to be a little bit sensible about your play.
Crowd tries to get behind the Australians. Better defence. Steadman. Now Sirenen, I think, collided with a teammate. Fire loses it. This is where Australia have got to take their chance.
They've got to take their chance, Graham. I agree with that, but they've got to structure their play here. They just can't throw the ball around and hope that somebody is going to go in there and do the very best they can from their play to try and sidestep around or something. They have got to work for it, not panic. They can't score from this set of 6. Simply put the ball in behind the line and try and grab another set.
Meninga. He will try to lift him as captain. 11 metres out. Gillespie. Good defence. Lindner goes without. Harrigan. Still they hold. Langer. He had the answers in Sydney. Does he have an answer here? No. Smothering defence. Kevin Walters. Back to Steve. The advantage was played by the referee. Now another penalty. Langer, quick with the restart. Great Britain waved back to be onside. Kevin Walters taken by Betts. 9 metres out. As Fulton is now relying on the Brisbane Broncos. Connection, Meninga! Ettinghausen! No! Touch judge says no.
Well, touch judge put a crash helmet on. We'll feel very lucky that the Canberra is a fair way away. As we see a possible try for Australia go begging, we'll see just how close it comes here on the Optus replay. E.T. diving, but some pretty good work there from the Great Britain players to get across. Yes, he did drop the ball. Some very good work there.
Took out the post, lost it as well. Skerritt. That's the early chance they needed. Clark. Well, you can't deny the Englishmen, Mick. They've dug pretty deep on pride.
Certainly not, Graham, but I think Bob Fulton's pulled the right rein with the changes at half-time. Laurie Daly already looking very dangerous at fullback. Andrew Ettinghausen on the wing. He's played some great games for Australia against Martin Fire on the wing. And little Kevin Walters, he's already gathered spark with the back line. What do you think, Wally?
Yes, I'm in total agreement with you there, Snoz. The biggest thing I think about having Kevin Walters on the field there, he has got that automatic teamwork with Alan Langer. Now, we saw and we spoke and gave credit to the Wigan pack of 6 in the first half, just how well they work together. And we've seen on countless occasions this year for the Brisbane Broncos how Langer and Kevin Walters work very well. A blunder for Australia, not a tackle made. Laurie Daly turning over possession from a tackle.
A fire midfield. Numbers here. Newlove had some men outside. He goes straight ahead. 12 metres out. A fire stays there. Ducks. 5 metres away. They want another try. Edwards. Schofield. They bring in Betts, trying to hurdle one defender. Schofield. Will he grab 1 point? Easy. Beautifully done. They wasted no time.
1 point to the Englishman there, but I don't think that'll upset the Cowboys too much at all. 1 point at a 22-0 really won't upset them too much.
23-0. It is still a shutout on the Subaru scoreboard. Schofield stretching it with that field goal. They work it away from the 22. McGinney. 32 out. Skerritt. He's let them know about his presence in the front row. Last tackle now. Kicking well away from Daly. Still working towards Eddinghausen, but it bounces and breaks back to the Canberra man. Great chasing. Plenty of enthusiasm.
8 men again in that chasing team, Graham. It must be pretty hard for a fullback to look up and see that many men chasing.
No answer from Australia yet. Ledner dummying, but to no avail. Nearly 10 gone from half-time. Serenin from a long way back. That is much better to hit it over the advantage line. The roll is there for Gillespie. He tries to take it 40 out. Meninga. He runs it. Clyde. Eddinghausen. Midfield kick. Chip and chase. Steadman saves the day. But they tried it on the last, the Australians, and it nearly worked for Fulton.
Made the most of the opportunity there, and I think Bob Fulton will be very encouraged what they saw there. For the first time, Australia have managed to get the ball through the back line hands. It was a very short back line on the blind side. E.T. going down the wing and tipping the ball in. Unfortunately, the ball just a little bit too deep, and well, I suppose it was very well covered by Graham Steadman as well. But the Aussies, they'll gain a great lot of heart out of that, and I think they can really put that set of 6 down, the success of that 6 tackles, down to Paul Serenin. He really got them moving forward with a terrific run up the middle that gained probably 12 to 15 metres, and the icing on the cake, a quick play the ball.
Daly taken by Schofield. 30 metres away. Steve Walters to Serenin. Serenin for Kevin Walters. Just needed some extra support. They go back to Langer. Gillespie. Back to Langer. He was only just grabbed. Steve Walters, Australian penalty. They didn't clear the ruck area. Langer with a quick tap. Meninga puts it down. The story of the night, Meninga far from comfortable. Shows his frustration.
Yes, well, I don't think we can beat the pictures to describe the frustration there for the big bloke. Australia really had a golden opportunity there to press home an advantage, but once again we've seen that go astray. But well, we've still got a little bit of time left. The Aussies are looking a lot better as we see a tight head come Australia's way. The luck finally changing.
Daly, maybe a turning point. 8 metres out. Ledner, right up the middle. They are but inches away. Langer's very wide. Back to Harrigan, who gets crushed. Walters looks to bring it back. Langer once again, stepping. He can't find any way through. Steve Walters eyeing off anxiously. Laurie Daly to Clyde. Great head-on tackle from Darryl Powell. There is only one more tackle left here. Langer looking to the in goal. There's no chasers. A fire. Can he get out of there? Easily. To the outside of Eddinghausen. Now back on the inside. He gets a great ovation from the English fans.
Alan Langer obviously wrestling with his thoughts there, whether to put the ball in the air or put the ball in behind the line. It was a good idea to put it in behind the line to try and get the ball back there, but unfortunately it wasn't helped by a real lack of chasers from the Australian team.
Great tackle from Harrigan. Mick O'Connor, do you have any answers tonight?
No, I think they're trying hard, Australia. Certainly Kevin Walters has added some spark, as I mentioned, around the 5'8" area. But they've just got to keep plugging away. A little bit unlucky then. I think the backs expected the ball to come out on the last, and Alfie just decided to put it in goal.
They try to spread it to Newlove. Lazarus gets the call on the sideline. Back for the kick. Their kicking game has been excellent, although on this occasion, straight down the barrel to Daly.
Compensated somewhat on that occasion, Graham. Another terrific chasing team. 8 players one more time going through for the Poms, and really that's something that Malcolm Riley couldn't be happier about.
The Australians with an opportunity. Johns back to Kevin Walters. They've got to find some points now, Pat.
They certainly have, but great stuff there by the Broncos connection as Walters and Johns work. They're going to have to do a lot more work if they're going to get into this game. 23 points to 0 as Sirenen goes on the charge. Now where's the support? It's a long way away and there's 3 English tacklers there for him. More frustration for the Aussies. Steve Walters. Here they go to throw it wide again, but Betts is there to close it up as he has been so often tonight. Langer. On the inside. This is Harrigan. A typical charge. But again, he's been brought down about 8 metres out on the 5th tackle. Langer. Weighing up his options, goes himself. Langer's 1 step away from scoring. He ducked under a high one. Penalty Australia.
Well, you've got to ask yourself, why isn't he sent off?
Well, he went high on Langer there, but then again, I suppose, when you have a look at Alfie standing up, it's pretty hard not to go high on the bloke. Terrific little burst through there from the English tacklers, obviously waiting. A golden opportunity for Australia at the moment. The Great Britain defence having a bit of a rest there, shot to bits. Australia must press home this advantage.
4 straight penalties to Australia. They work at the blind side. This is Lindner stepping. He's over the line. He can't get it down. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. That's brilliant stuff from Bob Lindner. Oh, what a try. What a try. No smiles for Bob Fulton yet. But Australia, after 4 straight penalties, finally gets a touchdown.
There's Bobby Lindner doing very well on this occasion. I think most people expected to see this as either a held up or a double movement play. Perhaps that would have been adjudged to be double movement by an Australian referee, but you've got to give it to Bobby. He certainly worked very hard to get in that position. Australia, as we mentioned, courtesy of those 4 straight penalties, really getting there and pushing home, ramming home the advantage. Now we've got to see them try and ram it home a little bit more.
Well, that's a great head-on shot. Dermott had him, so did Edwards, but they weren't strong enough to hold him. 105 kilos of Australian second rower, man of the series on the last Kangaroo Tour, and he's screaming at his teammates. We can still get back in this. Meninga is taking the kick with Wishart off the field. It's straight enough, it's long enough, and it's worth 2 points. It's 23 points to 6 here at Princes Park. Great Britain lead Australia. We welcome you back to Princes Park, where finally the Australian crowd has come alive. 23 points to 6. Wally, are they still in it?
Well, I think they are. They've been given some hope now. I think a lot of that hope, though, has been given a huge boost by Mal Meninga's conversion of that goal. Pat, that brings the deficit down to 17 points. I think if he had missed it and had it been left at 19, they'd look at the scoreboard and immediately think, well, we're 3 converted tries out of the way. Referee didn't see that on that occasion, was looking a different way. Australia's advantage has been nullified.
Glenn Lazarus on the field wearing the headgear, and you can see that the ball was almost certainly raked away from him. Should have been a penalty, Australia. They work the blind side. Schofield can't hang on to it. Knock on. Well, a few mistakes creeping into the Great Britain game now. Sirenen on the bench. Lazarus coming on, and as I said, wearing that headgear, courtesy of the cut that he suffered in the first test match. And he'll be looking for a big one tonight. Gillespie taking his spot in the starting 13. Kev Walters cuts out Meninga and goes to his Canberra teammate in Laurie Darling. Well, that statistic tells a story as Clyde busts away. Now where's the support? Kevin Walters is screaming for it. He's got it. But Sean Edwards was there to clean up. Quick play the ball here, and the Australians can go on the rampage again. Langer cuts back the other way looking for support. Can't find it. Steve Walters calling the shots from dummy half. Lazarus. The Australians a little bit disorganised at the moment. He makes a good charge upfield. He's only about 14 metres away. They work the blind side. Clyde to Meninga. Meninga to the try scorer, Lindner, and back on the inside to Eddinghausen, but he's well covered. Only 8 metres out, Australia. On the 5th tackle. Here they go. Through Bradley Clyde, charging his way again. Now it's the 5th tackle. So Australia has one more shot at it. Wide to Langer. Langer to Walters. On the charge. There goes Michael Hancock, is it?
Chris Johns.
Chris Johns it was, his Broncos teammate. And Australia are right back in it now. Chris Johns, a sensational try for Australia.
Back in it they are, Pat. And coincidentally, this is where we saw the Great Britain team fold in the match in Sydney, halfway through the second half. A lovely ball there to Chris Johns, who really could have easily taken the tackle, but the strength getting him through there, and a nice dive to the try line. It was a proud one, and proud he should have been. Ran onto the ball very, very well to bust the tackle. Australia now in the game with a real glimmer of hope. The conversion from Meninga will certainly add a lot more.
Their second try in just 4 minutes, and it was a Broncos special, as Wally Lewis predicted when Bob Fulton made those half-time changes to Langer to Walters, and a great flat ball. Johns charging onto it. All power as he goes across, 23 points to 10. Meninga has it set 10 metres in from touch on the quarter line.
As Wally was saying, Pat, all these goals now are absolutely vital. Eastwood with the 100%ers in the first 40. Now Meninga has to do all the business to complete the tries.
Well, the Australian captain has it lined up 10 metres in from touch and just outside the quarter line. He's pushed it right. No goal. The scoreline remains at Princes Park. Great Britain 23, Australia 10. The Subaru scoreboard tells it midway through the second half here at Princes Park. This historic first ever rugby league match to be played at the famous home ground of the Carlton Australian Rules Football Club. And a little bit of concern now creeping into the faces of the Great Britain reserves. Lazarus standing back inside the Australian in goal.
Speaking of that reserve bench, Pat, I think we might find that Malcolm really will be starting to wonder when he will make a couple of replacements. We've seen the Australian team really gain a great advantage by using a couple of replacements. Perhaps we may see really decide to put a couple of English players on the field, in particular Joe Lydon, who may take make full advantage of that huge breeze. Of course, Joe has got one of the biggest boots in rugby league, and if he can pin Australia deep in their own territory, perhaps it'll play advantage as we see Langer split them up the middle.
Here he goes, little Alfie Langer finds support outside, the ball goes loose inside and it went forward. Meninga couldn't handle it, but it was a bad pass. Langer splitting them, falling off tackles. That was Hume, obviously just arrived on the field. Gillespie, he played that sort of great support play in the first test as well, but his pass was knocked out of his hands, and an Australian try goes begging. So Great Britain now must settle it down. It's the first time they've had decent possession in quite a while. You'll remember 4 penalties straight to Australia just before that try. Michael O'Connor, there has been some changes. There's fresh jerseys out there for Great Britain.
That's right, they're coming at the moment, the changes. Paddy, you mentioned before the Bronco connection, and it really is working magic out there, particularly Alan Langer. He's really coming into his own now. I've got those changes. Carl Harrison's on, and Paul Hume's on, and Billy McGinty, they replaced Billy McGinty and Kelvin Skerritt.
That was Harrison with the ball. Now they start to run it wide again with Platt. As I said earlier, back into his favourite prop position. Not all that big, but a real dynamo. Good kick down into the Australian quarter, and Laurie Daly is underneath it. But again, plenty of Great Britain chasers. Hancock trying to step his way through the centre, falling off tackles again, and that was Harrison he pushed away. Things starting to look promising for the Australians now. Here goes Lazarus on the charge up towards halfway. Walters into dummy half. He has more runners, and this is Harrigan. Oh, they're making good ground now, the Australian forwards.
And it's no secret where they're making that ground, Pat, right up the middle of the ruck. We mentioned just after half-time we may see Langer opt to, or elect to go and attack round there. Very lucky on that occasion not to be giving away a shepherding penalty. 5th tackle, Australia. Important here to put the ball in a position of the field where they can maintain possession.
Daly jumps into the line and throws it to Mal Meninga, who chips ahead. The ball's gone loose. It's still on the toe, but it'll be kicked into touch. Scrum will go down inside the Great Britain quarter. Meninga chipping it ahead. Across comes Schofield, and it'll be Eddinghausen who'll put it into touch.
Great Britain, most importantly, with the feed. Mick O'Connor, Great Britain have got the wobbles.
They have, Graham. I see another replacement, Gary Connolly, coming on, the St Helens player. I mean, they have, but you just look back on that field goal now of Gary Schofield and see how important it was. Australia still have to score 3 times if they're going to win, but there are some holes appearing up the middle, as Wally alluded to, and they look as though they're shaking a little bit.
Hume now bringing it away. Someone might have to remind Great Britain that we are in the home of the famous Melbourne Cup. The great 2-miler, the test of endurance. You've got to get to the line strongly. Great Britain have still to show that in this Ashes series. This is a real Melbourne Cup for them. The Ashes on the line. Harrison loses it. One more chance again.
Very good work from Bob Lindner on that occasion. We saw him race up to put pressure on the defence, which appeared to take a little bit of a peep.
Clyde. 30 metres out. Steve Walters to Harrigan. Just outside the 22. Lazarus fends off one. Takes 3 more with him. Langer to Kevin Walters, who has provided a spark in this second half. Last tackle.
Be interesting to see whether they elect to go to the air here, Graham. I think it's the right option to take.
Langer does just that. Who wants it? Great Britain leave it alone. Ball bounces for them. The bounce has been fine for them tonight. Schofield. Is he just soaking up some time? He clutched at a knee. Crowd think he might be. A fire. It's all vital time being killed here. Harrison. He got the call only a week or so ago to come and join the tour party.
And what a tour he's had so far. He certainly has been electric in all of his form so far.
Edwards trying to tiptoe through the cricket pitch area. Brad Mackay gets warmed up for Australia. Last tackle against the Englishman. Steadman. He received plenty of support. Now, I think this is a pretty tough penalty against us, Great Britain.
It was a bit of a hard penalty. Carl Harrison certainly did put a little bit of a detour in the Australian kick-chasing team, but it really didn't seem to be anything that was above some of the other occasions that it's happened during the match.
Well, he's entitled to stand his ground. 5 straight penalties to the Australians. They've got to score more than a point a minute. Lazarus near the 22. The territory dominated normally by the likes of Langer and Meninga. Dangerous times for Great Britain. Langer, short ball up for Lidner. Is it try time? Steve Walters was allowed plenty of room from dummy half to brother Kevin. 5 metres out only. Langer, Meninga. Daly to the outside for Ettinghausen. Kicks to the in goal, no good. Back to the 22. Daly on the Optus replay. He got mixed up, which Clyde Ettinghausen had very, very little room. Dermott with the restart. Back to Harrison. Australia, surprisingly, have dominated the possession in the opposition half by 2-1. 57 tackles to 26. Crunch time in defence as well there. The biggest upset in test between the two countries is on the line.
Certainly seeing a big turnaround in form here in the second half, Graham. That's the sort of thing Australia were coming up with in the first half. Some quite simple knock-ons from dummy half, and they're happening in the wrong area of the field for them. Australia again will be on the attack, about to mount more pressure.
Kevin Walters to Johns. Standing. Good ball over the top. Hancock. All the time it's getting late. Another penalty.
Oh, gee, these penalties are coming thick and fast then. That was
a little bit of a warning from Dennis Hale about lashing out in the tackle as well and fighting for it, but he got Schofield for hanging on. Brad Mackay gets a touch. Harrison went high, he loses it.
The touch on the chin he got as well on the way through there, which forced the knock on.
Harrison got the shot on him. Right on the 22, the scrum. Famous tunes of Never Walk Alone from the Great Britain supporters. They believe time and the scoreboard well and truly on their side. Inside the last 10. Is there about to be an Australian miracle, Michael O'Connor?
I'd like to think so, Graham, but realistically, no. I don't think they can do it. They might get back with another try, but time's going to run out. I think if the game was going to go for another half an hour, Australia could win it, but it's no coincidence. Since the rain stopped, they're using their backs. The Bronco connection, which I mentioned before, the team changes. They're a lot more confident than they were, but they've left it too late.
Platt, midfield, last tackle. Long ball back for Steadman. Takes his time. Picks out Ettinghausen and Daly. Down near their own 22. They lose it. Great Britain have it. Now Daly recovers, but they will have the feed. This might be it. Good strong defence, just jolted it free. Edwards with the feed. Big blindside. Schofield and Steadman want to use it. Meninga's there on Schofield. Steadman. Steadman! Unbelievable! He knocked on the door. Nobody was home. The Ashes will be on the line at Lang Park. 33rd minute, second half. Steadman picks himself a mark down the blind side.
Yes, and when he took off with the football, I don't think even Graham Steadman could have imagined in his wildest dreams that he was going to end up with a try there. He had 3 players to get around on the blind side of the ruck. A lot of people probably arguing with his decision to run that way, but it certainly turned out to be the right one. Did very, very well to get around Andrew Ettinghausen, who proved in the first match that he's no slouch with the pace.
Schofield was waiting open side. Now Steadman just saw the chance. Schofield thought after the play of the ball it was going to go to the back line and a skinny blind side, and Steadman climbs aboard smiling. Well, this is one of the most remarkable nights ever in rugby league. You talk about Wembley back in 1990. It will be a long, long time before Princes Park in Carlton, Melbourne, will ever be forgotten. They are celebrating in a big way. As we said before, they did wander out tonight to the strains of Land of Hope and Glory. That about says it all tonight. Eastwood, one of the big heroes, 5 from 5. Right out near the chalk. Just those little nervous antics of his. Eastwood. Oh, yeah! It is their night in a huge way. Dreams come true in Melbourne. 29-10. Who could ever have looked into the crystal ball? Malcolm really has these guys on fire. Steadman up in the line. The singing will not stop now. Incredible atmosphere. Harrison. Well, Mick, we're really got to start thinking about the heroes now.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, Gary Schofield's led on the front foot. I've been particularly impressed with the forwards. They've worked tirelessly. They've slackened off a little bit in the second half. Andy Platt's had a big game. This bloke, Graham Steadman, he's had an absolute enormous game. The thing that has really impressed me about their game tonight has been their kicking game. Wally's mentioned it all night, and the chase. It's something they didn't do in the first test, and they've really perfected it for this game. But he's had a big game. Oh, there's a host of players. Eastwood on the wing, he hasn't missed a goal all night. You know, you could give it to anyone, the man of the match, to anyone of the 13 as far as I'm concerned.
Wally, we were so confident after Sydney. Everybody was talking about the series was dead. Now, can we hang on to it?
Well, there's a lot of people going to be asking that question over the next 7 days or so, and there's plenty of homework put in the Australian camp over the performances of most of the Australians in this game. I don't think it's time to quite time to head towards the gap just yet. A lot of people will be wondering exactly what sort of track is going to be available at Lang Park in Brisbane in 7 days' time. If it's a dry track, I think a lot of people will be expecting another Australian victory. If it's a little bit slippery, if there's a little bit of rain about, the bookies will be just about giving even odds.
Steve Walters, Langer, Kevin Walters. Johns flicks inside for Eddinghausen. Schofield in the way. Still the ball gets tossed. Mackay.
Another great tackle in there from Andy Platt. We've just heard Mick O'Connor tell us, or give a big rap to him about the way he's conducted himself out there tonight. And you can't argue with that. He's done tremendously well.
Steve Walters.
He's taken the ball up very, very well all night as we see the Australians desperately trying to get through. Could this be another nail in the coffin?
Lindner's trying to match it. The ball beautifully kept on the toe. No! Right at the death, he lost it. He just gave it too much.
You've got to feel sorry for him. The poor bloke has just run 50 metres. He's probably had the heroes welcome for him all picked out in his mind exactly what's going to happen. Here it is, the final kick, just a little bit too far.
Eastwood nearly grabbed himself a try. He won't be too disappointed. Lazarus. Steve Walters to Mackay. Short of halfway. The headaches that belong to Great Britain now belong to Australia. They've got to come up with the answers at Lang Park. Meninga. Daly.
And once again, we see Great Britain's slide defence paying dividends for them. They had that move particularly well covered. They were in no danger at all of getting split. They had ample men out there to cover it. And once again, another attacking raid from Australia gone begging.
Lydon is out there. Steadman. Not afraid to stay up the line and do some work like a front rower. Schofield. Great skill. A fire. Eddinghausen and the great chase. He will not get him tonight. Magic. Sensational try. This has been a class act. Five-star stuff. Tremendously exciting rugby league. Gary Schofield. What a chip. Doesn't he have some talent with this one?
He certainly does, and positions it very well. Well, that pass. Gee, that's a mile forward, but it doesn't make any difference. The game was over before this. E.T. doing his best to get to him, but, well, when you've got speed with, like that to contend with, it's very, very hard. Second try in 6 minutes for the Poms, and superbly set up by Schofield, who really has been the man behind the Poms push all night.
Michael O'Connor, one of the great sights in rugby league, afire.
There's no doubt about that, but that pass was a mile forward. Look, I'm just wondering what the Australian players are going to do, or whether their clubs are going to use them this weekend after this loss. They've only got a week to turn this around. I wonder how many of these Australian players will be backing up for their clubs this weekend.
Great point. Very interesting point. Now Eastwood. Can he do it again? No celebration for Australia as far as the Ashes. in Melbourne. But this has been one of the great Test performances. Around 8,000 English fans made the journey to Melbourne. The party will be a massive one tonight. They've been here to see this man and the likes of Schofield produce some magic. 6 from 6. A try like that, skill like that, deserves 2 more points. The difficult angle, but this is where he just finished off the last one. Normally at this ground he gets 6 points for this. Maybe they'll give him 1 for a behind. That's all they can give him. There it is. Time is gone on a night of rugby league history in Victoria, of all places. Take a bow, Malcolm Reilly and Great Britain. The biggest upset of all time. Bobby Fulton gets disappointed in Melbourne for the 2nd time in 2 years. A wry smile. He has a great side that will bounce back. Tonight, they are the champions. They've knocked off the world champs. The Union Jack will fly high tonight. The Wigan pack led the way right from the start. Schofield was a key. He was brilliant. Platt was magnificent in the forwards. Steadman, a real match winner at the back, as was Eastwood on the wing. Just like Australia in Sydney, you could line up the heroes right through the whole side. Schofield, what a magic game as captain. And Great Britain equalled their biggest winning margin against Australia that was set back in 1958. Well, what a proud captain will be Gary Schofield. Here he is with Pat Welsh.
Gary Schofield, congratulations, a sensational turnaround.
Yeah, mate, you know, we believed in ourselves and the self-belief was there, and as I said last week, if you don't turn pressure to points, you're not going to win a football game. We reversed this, the pressure tonight, and it showed the Australians are only human. Now,
you were in doubt yesterday. You didn't run yesterday with the team, and you've turned it a blinder.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. It was only just a precaution regarding the hamstring, but, you know, I've had a bit of team on it, and it's come up soon tonight, and I'm so proud of my fellas tonight. It's my 2nd time catching against Australia to get a win. I'm the proudest man in the Great Britain, I can reassure you.
Well, I tell you, you went in as underdogs, but you probably go to Lang Park as favourites.
Oh, well, we won't be thinking that. We'll, you know, we'll assess the video, look where the points what we did wrong first, and then look at the good points, and then I say we'll look forward to the 3rd test next Friday.
Were the conditions in your favour, do you think, tonight?
Well, as I said before, I've said in the interviews before, you know, if you can't play international football at any level, in any conditions, then you shouldn't be playing it.
What was the change of tactics?
Well, we just had to, you know, put pressure on them and do, you know, like the Great Britain side 2 weeks ago, we faltered. If we could put pressure on the Australians like they're only human like we are, you know, they're going to come up with the mistakes.
Now, you said last time that they only played for 30 or 40 minutes. Tonight was 80 minutes, but midway through that 2nd half, were you a little worried?
Oh, well, we wasn't worried. We realised that, you know, we were slacking off a little bit, but it showed that we came strong at the end by scoring them 2 fabulous tries.
All right, congratulations. I know you want to go and celebrate, and they're well-deserved.
Thanks, Pat. Been a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks.
Gary Schofield has composed himself, and for just one night, Princes Park in Melbourne has a little touch of famous Wembley Stadium. Incredible atmosphere outside, but not right there in the Australian dressing room. A disappointing night ahead for them to regain, regroup, regather their thoughts.
Opens up an interesting question watching a scene like that. I remember around about 12 months ago, Graham, a similar scene when New Zealand beat Australia, again down here in Melbourne. And the knives came out that night. There were around about 4 or 5 players dropped. One wonders whether the same thing will happen tonight. It makes it very difficult after Australia convincingly won the first test. The English have turned that result around for tonight, so it's 1 game all. But do certain players feel the blade coming around their neck?
Well, the fans still want their players to stay out on the paddock. They had a guy in the second row from Wigan tonight making his debut against the Australians. Billy McGinty, here he is with Pat Welch.
First test, Billy McGinty, congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a hard match, but we deserved to win. We were all looking forward to it. We knew we could beat them. We know they're not supermen, and we're looking forward to next week now.
I suppose, do you go in as favourites?
Well, I don't know about that, but Australia are a very, very good side, and we are, and we're really looking forward to it. Next week should be a good tussle, see who's the world champions.
Yeah, can you believe that there were so many points scored out there? It's a little slippery, isn't it?
It's very, very slippery, and I don't think that the Australians were ready for that. We're used to playing in wet conditions, and hopefully it'll rain next week.
How much did the crowd lift you in that second half when the Australians put together those 2 quick tries?
Oh, there was a lot of pressure on us. We took a lot of tackles, but you could hear them all singing, here we go, here we go, here we go, which is a song they all sing back at Britain. So thousands and thousands here today, and they pulled us through in the end. I'd like to thank them all.
Now tell me about that try. You jumped up and claimed it, but we...
No. I was just a bit happy. It's the closest I've got to a try, I think, this year. So I was just happy. Paul Newland got it, but I helped him.
How much did it help having all your Wigan teammates beside you in the pack?
It helped a lot. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. Everybody knows everybody's weak spots, where they'll run, what they'll do, and we cover each other. And that's what I think is one in the end, our pack against theirs, and we've done them.
Okay, well, there might be a champagne down in that dressing room. I'll let you go and have one.
I think I'll be having a few sherbets tonight.
You deserve them. Billy McGinty on his test debut, a winner. Congratulations.
He sure was, Pat. And he gets a magnificent ovation from the English fans. What a night they've got ahead tonight as well.
Look out, Melbourne.
Well, we're going to come back with a lot more from Princes Park. Stay with us on 7 Sport. We'll be back shortly. Well, that's what's been happening all night tonight at Princes Park. And Martin Offiah knew that all of a sudden, Wally Lewis, the Ashes are back and alive.
Yes, they certainly are alive, and very, very well. And what a game it's going to be up at Lang Park in 7 days' time. I'm sure that you can be virtually guaranteed a full house up there now, and there will be a fair bit of support for the Australians up there. Perhaps we were a little bit underestimating the ability of the Englishmen out here tonight. We thought that they were going to go well, but I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams could appreciate just how well they were going to play tonight.
Some amazing stats coming out of this one. In fact, Graham Steadman's try tonight was Great Britain's 150th against Australia, whilst Bobby Lidner's try was Australia's 150th against Great Britain in the Test history.
Yes, an unbelievable stat, but probably the difference between the two, that Steadman's try was a little bit more appreciated by his teammates than the other way around. And we're seeing some amazing scenes here.
They may never go home.
I don't think they will. I think they're going to stay here until next Friday night before they head up to Lang Park. I think they'll get about the 5 o'clock plane up there just before we see the game take place in Brisbane.
Well, Australia had a little bit of a chance, a look back in at it in the second half. Bobby Lidner was the man who grabbed the try.
23 points to 0 as Sirinen goes on the charge. Now where's the support? It's a long way away, and there's 3 English tacklers there for him.
Australia must press home this advantage.
4 straight penalties to Australia. They work with the blind side. This is Lindner stepping. He's over the line. He can't get it down. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. That's brilliant stuff from Bob Lindner.
Plenty of strength there from Lindner.
Yes, there was plenty of strength from Lindner, and we also saw a fair bit from Paul Sirinen as well. I still wonder if it had been an Australian referee, whether it would have been given as a try. It maybe would have been called as a double movement, but you've really got to appreciate Bob's strength there. It was a time where Australia were doing it very, very tough, and they needed that try, and he was the man to provide that inspiration at that moment.
Yeah, well, the inspiration looked as though it might come from the Brisbane Broncos with the combination of Langer and Kevin Walters who got together, and for a little time the Englishmen looked as though they got the wobbles.
Well, Graham, as much as you can dislike the Brisbane Broncos in some parts of the place, or you know, conversely, you do like them, you really have got to admit that they have got exceptional teamwork. They proved that by posting a try when all three of their players in the back line, and Langer, Walters and Johns, combined on numerous occasions to get them in the right area of the field before they got the try.
There is no, well, there's plenty of rumours, but it's pretty well-known fact that Jackson has been carrying a knee that's not 100%, so he might be struggling for the third test if he can't get it quite right.
Well, perhaps. I think the medical will really decide whether or not he does play in the third match in Brisbane. He was an outstanding player in the first match in Sydney. Didn't go all that well here tonight. I think Jacko will be the first one to admit that. He is pretty harsh on himself, but you know, he has proved in years gone by that when under pressure he does become a player that provides the heart and soul of his teamwork.
Well, the heart and soul of Great Britain tonight was the Wigan pack, who really started on a real roll in the first 40 minutes. Our MMI man of the match was their front rower for the Great Britain side, Andy Platt. Here he is with Pat.
Thanks very much, Graham. It was a great performance by that Wigan pack tonight, wasn't it? Even though they had Great Britain jerseys on.
Yeah, I think not just the pack. I think the whole 17 played very, very well. Even the subs that came on, it was a team effort, and that's what we know. We based the training on all week. It would be a team effort, and I think, you know, tonight showed the teamwork on the day.
We said right the way through the week you were relishing getting back into the front row. You love that position, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but you know, I mean, I'll play anyway. I'll play in the wing if Malcolm asks me to play in the wing and play to the best of my ability. But yeah, I do like it up front. I made no secret to that, and hopefully I can get in next week.
I think that just captures the spirit of the side. Most of you will play anywhere.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've come in for a fair bit of criticism from the media, both in Australia and in Great Britain. We lost a couple of players. We lost Ellery, and nobody gives us a hope, you know, but it's such the nature of this side, you know, they all pull together, and we've trained very, very well in the week, and it showed out there tonight.
Were you worried when Australia started to make that comeback early in the second half, scored 2 tries in 4 minutes?
Oh shit, I was just waiting for that hooter, yeah. They came up very, very fast, and at times my legs, I was like walking on the moon, you know, but you just got to get your head down and keep going and just wait for a break.
You'll have no trouble being pumped up for Lang Park now?
No, it looks like it's going to be a great end to the, you know, a good series. They won the first one convincingly. We've won here tonight, so it all looks good for Lang Park, and a nice Brisbane night, hopefully.
And I think these 8,000 or 10,000 supporters you've brought over with you are going to follow you to Lang Park. That'll be handy. Yeah,
well, I think they need a few 2s or 4x to get the vocal cords back. They'll be pretty hoarse tomorrow, but I think they'll have a few tonight and get ready for next week.
OK, well, we've got to thank MMI right now because, Andy, you have been voted our man of the match. A cheque for $2,000 from MMI, and we'd like to thank them very much.
Yeah, thanks very much, MMI. I'd just like to say hello to my family, Angela, who's over here, and all my family back in England if they get this telecast. Thanks very much. Thanks.
OK, congratulations on a great game tonight. I know it was well deserved, although it was a tough decision because there were plenty of great players for Great Britain.
Yeah, I'll share it out with the rest of the lads. You know, as I said before, the 17 lads could have got it. Just, you know, one out of the hat with my turn. Maybe it's somebody else's turn next week.
OK, Andy, congratulations, Graham. I can hear a little bit of singing starting in the background.
Oh, they've been singing all night, Pat. Wally, I think a fair amount of the $2,000 might be spent around Melbourne tonight.
I think it would be, and well, I suppose they can afford to do that. They can go out and celebrate as much as they like. They certainly deserve it. They put together that victory with consummate ease in the end, but I'm sure that there was a hell of a lot of hard work that went in between the first and second tests to ensure that tonight was going to end up on the right side of the scoreboard for the Poms.
Well, it has been 22 years since Great Britain have taken a series. That was way back in 1970. The man who led the way there was Malcolm. Really, now he's doing it as the coach, and you've really got to give him great justice tonight for getting it right here in Melbourne. We'll take a break. Back with more after this. Some tremendous emotions here tonight in this battle for the Ashes. The second rugby league test between Australia and Great Britain, and a superb Great Britain side. Well, it's been a magic match, and I know to all our New South Wales and Queensland viewers, especially on Seven Sport, they know the two faces of these next gentlemen coming up who join me every Sunday morning on our Sevens Big League panel. Roy Masters and Warren Ryan, we have seen an incredible test match here tonight.
We have, mate. The psychological factors, I think, are very important tonight. One was that England cleared a lot of their problems out of their cupboard. They got rid of a roly-poly half with a groin problem. They got rid of a petulant captain with money and foot problems. And therefore they had a united team. And look, this crowd was just superb tonight. I got caught for 15 minutes in that packed English crowd, all singing the Life of Brian, you know. Always look on the bright side, and they really demonstrated what a wonderful sporting nation and people they are.
Warren, I mentioned in the commentary of the match that it was a little touch of Wembley Stadium in the atmosphere coming here tonight. It was quite sensational.
Yeah, well, they won the singing too, didn't they? They're marvellous singers, and you can't help but be amazed at the resilience of a team that looked like they were down and gone and beaten with all sorts of injury problems. And you know, just take your hat off to Malcolm really and all his players. I thought it was a marvellous performance from them, and talking about getting rid of problems too, they got rid of their defensive problems from the first test. Perhaps the slipperiness of the ground tonight helped them a little bit, because I thought Australia put a lot of ball down when they had reasonable chance down at the English try line. But they played with the same football, they played on the same ground, and the Pommies did the job. And, you know, I'm very happy for Test football. I think Test football's alive and kicking, and that's a good thing for rugby league.
Yeah, I think you're quite right about that. And as I said to Malcolm, really, they did it in unbelievable style.
Well, they did, and instead of this Test football, you know, being viewed, if we'd have done that tonight, won by 33-10, the next Test would be been viewed just as an interruption to our Winfield Premiership. Now everybody will be interested in the Lang Park mob are going to get a Test match that's a worthy contest, not one where Australia are losing 2-0 and it's a meaningless Test. And you can just imagine the atmosphere at Lang Park. It'll be a great place to be for the third one.
We talk about the likes, Roy, of Meninga, 36 Test appearances for Australia, but what about Gary Schofield and the skill he showed again tonight? 27 times he's represented his country now.
Yes, he was superb, and I like the way that England, straight after half-time, continued to attack. A lot of Australian teams with that lead would have chosen to close it up.
This was just like Sydney. In the opening moments, a great break and a near try.
Yeah, down the left-hand side of the field, and he got through Jackson, and it's very significant when a player can repeatedly make the first break in a game. And I thought their hooker was magnificent too early in the game.
Roy, good cover there from Ettinghausen, though, who left and stayed off. He didn't commit himself, and he allowed the cover time to pick up a fire.
He did, but if Andrew goes through his game, mate, he's going to find that it was not a happy Test for him. There will be calls. There will be calls for Andrew's head. After all, in the State of Origin series, I thought that the fullback of the series was the Gold Coast one, Dale Shearer.
Yeah, well, do you expect Fulton to make many changes?
I think the Australian selectors will probably make 2 or 3, but I think principally on the wing, fullback. I don't think they'll touch the forwards much.
Warren, what about another one of our big league panel members, Peter Jackson, who has had some knee problems, and he wasn't there for the second 40?
No, I'd be very interested to see why he was replaced, whether it was through injury or whether it was a reprisal for the missed tackle on Schofield. And also he tried very hard himself individually, but perhaps at times there I thought he ran the play when he could have shifted it. There were a few opportunities, but it'd be very interesting to see why he was replaced, whether it was through injury or through some, you know, reasons other than that. But I don't know that we should be making too many changes in the sense that it's an admission we've done a poor job initially. I think our team's got to do just what the Englishmen did. I think they've got to get away from the nights out at restaurants and strutting around, and I think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to win the series. I think we're the ones that should be on in sackcloth and ashes and in hiding for a week. We've got to come out and produce the goods.
Well, they tried to produce the goods just after half-time, Australia. They tried to climb back. They made some changes. In the 60-minute mark of the match of this second Test, it was Chris Johns who climbed in for a try.
One more shot at it. Wide to Langer. Langer to Walters. On the charge. There goes Michael Hancock. Is it
Chris Johns?
Chris Johns it was. His Broncos teammate. And Australia are right back in it now.
Roy, it was about this mark in the Sydney Test, and Wally Lewis made the comment, this is where they got the wobbles about midway through the second 40.
Yes, that's right. It's an interesting case there. That was Bronco to Bronco, a little bit of combination. I think that Australia was starting to throw the ball about rather than sort of get into their negative just yardage pattern.
Yeah, there's another aspect of it too, Roy, which we remarked that if it could be talked about in two halves, England absolutely dominated possession in the first half, and Australia looked like it was just a different ball game. Australia came out in the second half and looked like they were going to dominate possession, and as a result of that, we were able to get back into the game, and that was the only way we were going to do it. We had to get some penalties, or we had to get some sustained possession and get in for a try very quickly.
Well, 13 minutes later after that Johns try, it was another big hero's turn for Great Britain, this time the fullback, Graham Steadman. Steadman! Unbelievable! He knocked on the door, nobody was home. That was curtains there. Steadman, remarkably, 30 years of age, he started his career as a 5'8", and the move to fullback has been a big one for him.
Yes, and I think Malcolm really deserves a lot of credit. There must have been immense pressure on him to play Joe Lydon as a fullback. Lydon has got a very prolific kick, but no, he stuck with Steadman, and
particularly after the Newcastle game, Roy, I thought Joe Lydon showed a tremendous return to form with a marvellous run. But look, Ettinghausen there's beaten on the outside after he's already beaten Mal on the outside. You think Ettinghausen would have gone to school on it and nailed him. That was a bad lapse.
Yeah, well, they were skinny down that blind side, and of course they were celebrating in a big way just then. Well, they were celebrating in an even bigger way with just 60 seconds left on the clock. It was one of the great sights in rugby league, Martin Afire.
English fans made the journey to Melbourne
Schofield. Great skill. A fire. Ettinghausen and the great chase. He will not get him tonight. Magic. Sensational try. There was the forward pass in this one, Roy, but enormous skills again.
Yes, he's such a confident player, and the way in which O'Fire positioned himself then and just skirted away. Andrew Ettinghausen then made a valiant attempt to get him, but it was just too much speed.
Warren, in 1990 on the Kangaroo Tour, they had the answer to O'Fire. They didn't give him any room at all, but he has produced some great runs in just 2 tests.
Well, they might have had the answer to the team inside him, but this team's been marvellous in that they've given him some opportunities, and the great ball in Sydney from Schofield. You remember the ball that went, a long ball from the half-back to Schofield, Andy Gregory, and Schofield threw a cut-out pass and put O'Fire away, and everyone realised then, you know, that O'Fire was really, you know, a tremendous danger and had to be marked.
Big question going into the match was 2 5/8s being comfortable with each other in this Great Britain side, with Shaun Edwards liking to play in the 6 jersey as well. He had a big game at half.
I think Shaun Edwards is a halfback that's been forced to play 5/8 for a long period of his career because Andy Gregory's too slow to play anywhere else at Wigan. And I'm not denigrating Andy Gregory. He's been a great player, but he's not a player that could move any wider away from the focal point of the game.
And he also played very well in defence, which is one of his immense shortcomings. He started off the game in a relatively negative fashion, hiding behind the ruck there, but as he grew in confidence, he moved in and did some effective work as a tackler.
Let's check the stats now on one of the biggest upsets, if not the biggest upset in rugby league test history between the two great arch rivals. Total tackles, well, the Australians led the way there, but they also led the way in the errors department. The missed tackles, the handling mistakes were massive. They had the scrums, they had the penalties in a big count, in a big way in the second half. Kicks in play, Warren Steadman, and the Great Britain kicking game was a good one.
Yeah, it was a much improved one, but I think significantly that the mishandling from Australia, I think, cost us all chance, because in the first half, the few visits we had down at the English line, you've got to put points on the board when you make visits to the opponent's territory, otherwise a game can slip away from you. You get limited chances, particularly at test football level.
Well, the answers have got to come up now for the Australian camp, especially their coach, Bob Fulton, who took out the Ashes series on the Kangaroo Tour of 1990. He has a busy week ahead of him. Here he is with Pat Walsh.
Yes, Graham, obvious dejection down here in the Australian camp, but Bob Fulton knew for one and not surprised by the quality of the English performance tonight.
Oh no, when you consider the fact that they only dropped the ball on 8 occasions and had it on 45 lots of 6, it was a superb display by the Poms. And when you look at our effort in that particular area, I mean, we dropped the ball on 20 occasions and we had it the same number of times. So obviously we had to defend a lot more. They had a lot more possession than what they really should have had. I mean, we should have been putting some pressure on them with the ball, but we didn't, and they didn't have to make as many tackles, and it took them a fair while to tire. I mean, you know, they were playing confidently.
Yeah, tough talk at half-time, because when you're trailing by 20 points in those conditions and they've got the breeze at their backs, it's not easy.
You're telling me. I mean, but I was quite happy when we looked like outscoring them 10-1 in the second half, but they came with those couple of late tries and took their score on to 33, and I think when you look at the overall scoreline, it's probably a fair indication of the difference between the two sides, considering the ball handling of our side.
Is there a big rethink needed now?
I don't think so, no. I think if the sides went around again tomorrow in the same conditions and we held the ball the way they did, or it was even, I'd like to say that we could win the game.
OK, mate, I know you'd like to get back to your team. We appreciate your time.
Right,
Bob Fulton, thank you.
Bob Fulton, as I said before, at the end of the game, he can still manage a wry smile. He has a great side under him, and it's not new territory to him. Nearly every series against Great Britain now, he has lost a test match, but then come up with the goods in the decider, which will be a beauty in Lang Park. Still a very, very quiet dressing room in the Australian room here at Princes Park in Melbourne, where we will return right after this break. Melbourne skyline takes over tonight, where the lights went out on Australia in the second test in the battle for the Ashes, but they are shining very brightly for Malcolm Reilly and Great Britain. 33-10, Clark, Newlove, Schofield, Steadman. What a list it is. O'Fire, try scorers. 6 goals from 7 attempts for Eastwood. The Schofield field goal. Meninga a lone goal for Australia. The try scorers in the second half, when it looked to be well and truly gone, Lydner and Chris Johns. Well, Wally Lewis, as a captain coach, say, of the Gold Coast, Michael O'Connor raised the point. Do the clubs now use their players on the weekend, tomorrow and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, before the third test?
Well, it is a very touchy situation, you must admit that. I think if I was forced with a decision, I suppose I'd have to admit that the Australian game is a lot more important than a club game. Admittedly, the clubs do pay out huge amounts of money for their representative players, but we've got to realise that Australia is under serious threat. Its international supremacy in rugby league is being chewed away by this Great Britain side, who really have stunned everybody in the country here tonight, and I don't think there'd be a second thought given to it. You'd have to release the players, make sure that they weren't injured in this game and were ready, fit and able for the next match.
Just quickly, is there a major change that you would make to Australia?
Well, it's very hard. People are suggesting that that Peter Jackson be shifted. He was remarkable in the first match. He was very, very close in our voting for man of the match there. I think that it really will come down to his fitness. If he's not 101% fit, Jacko may struggle to hold his place in the side, and perhaps we'll see Kevy Walters slip into the team, and they'll try and make best advantage of that teamwork that he has alongside Alan Langer.
Look forward to your company in Brisbane for that decider.
Well, it'll be a great game.
It certainly will. Coming up exclusively live, we hope, at Lang Park. There are still some tickets available. 3rd of July, the decider as the Ashes is on the line. And also coming up on 7 Sport, the Olympic Games starts July 25. Again, exclusive to 7 Sport. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We will see you in Brisbane.
Has been another 7 Sports production, the network of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics.